Welcome to This Podcast is Making Me Thirsty, the number one destination for Seinfeld fans. This is Two Up and Two Down. Here's our producer, Chris, to start us off.
Back to another episode of Two Up and Two Down. Today we are doing a season 5 episode. It is The Pie. And Tony, what's your first up?
Yeah, The Pie, Gamble Pro Season 5. I mean, this is Seinfeld Prime. This might be, I have to do the math on this, might be the episode we have the most guests on our podcast from. Tons of guests from this episode. Just worked out that way, I suppose. And my first up is actually one of those guests in that scene. I think Dunford, the saleswoman, the first kind of scene there with George and Elaine. I think she really nails it. The little argument with Elaine there. Sorry, Natasha, and she rolls her eyes, and wouldn't be fair to the whole Eurotrash rags, and George like, oh, well, what can you do? George is kind of blowing off Elaine. I just love that scene where George kind of just lets Elaine do her thing. He doesn't care while the saleswoman's going back and forth to the snootiness. Elaine usually thinks she's the classy one here, but the saleswoman really one-ups her with that great accent. So that's my first up, the Dunford as the saleswoman.
All right, yeah, very good. And she was a great guest on our podcast here, too. So, Chris, over to you. What's your second or your first up? I'm sorry.
Yeah, Christine Dunford, Bronx Science alum. You were perfect in that suit. And listen, The Pie, season 5, and, it was right after, a lot to live up to. It was right after Marine Biologist. So, but boy, it didn't let you down. So, for me, it's the swooshing suit, where George comes back and he's walking around and swoosh, swoosh, and Jerry and Elaine here, they're laughing and they're like, oh, don't worry about it. And, the whole thing, he once fired a guy, and then obviously back in the restaurant, hearing him walk with Mackenzie and the swooshing. I mean, if you've ever worked in an office and you heard that, or whether it's a shoe or a suit, I think of Costanza right away. It happens to me a lot. If a certain outfit doesn't work, I get a little paranoid about it. So, and obviously that, if you're one of us, you'll take a bite, which is obviously one of Jerry Seinfeld's most favorite lines from the whole run. He says he uses a lot with his family. So the swooshing suit that ties into you'll take a bite, for me, ultimate Seinfeld first up.
All right, thanks. I wouldn't have picked that as my up, but that's a good one. I'm pretty sure a lot of fans are going to agree with you too. So, Tony, back to you. What's your second up?
Yeah, I mean I actually love it, and you touched on it as part of your whole up here. When George walks in, and he's snapping into the diner with Layden. That's a classic George entrance. Love it. I'm actually piggybacking off because I think George buying the suit is my second up. Another classic George kind of just walks in. What is this doing here? Someone has misplaced the suit. And another friend of the show there, Beltzman's all ticked off, and someone's made a terrible mistake. Arrivederci, my fellow 40 short. Great George lie. Just did his thing. Hit walks in with the newspaper, puts it under his thing. I love it. I just laugh out loud every time George delivers on that scene. That's my second up.
All right, good one. Yeah, that is a good one. Thanks. So, Chris, back to you. Your second up.
Yeah, Tony's loving that downtown department store. I mean, honey, for an unadvertised sale, you're doing a lot of yapping about it. I mean, George, classic. Season 5, George, what can you say? Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of ups. I'm going to go Poppy. He... a little underrated guest star. Obviously, we talked to a lot of him in this show. May he rest in peace. But the whole Poppy scene, coming out of the bathroom, not washing his hands, Jerry's face, their whole dynamic. Then obviously going back to the table with Suzanne Snyder and Jerry making that classic Jerry face, not wanting the pie. We all understand why. Really enjoyable. So, again, something obviously a chef should never do. And this is the introduction of Poppy, where you obviously, meet him a couple times later. But a nice intro to Poppy. going right for it, not washing his hands. Second up.
I almost thought you guys are going to skip past Poppy altogether, so that's a great one. I love that scene with him, Jerry and Poppy in the bathroom. So now we got to do downs. Tony, what is your first down?
Yeah, I did write down Poppy's scene, so obviously agree with that as well. This I don't have downs were hard on this one, but I one I have to call out because every time it just doesn't make sense, and I don't even think I don't know, it's weird, but okay, the mannequin looks like Elaine, fine. What are we doing putting her in lingerie and a guy spanking her ass in this department store? That is just, to me, like, we went off the reservation here. Like, what is going on? Like, I could see it being like funny, but like, there's nothing there that makes any sense to me, and it always throws me off. Like, I kind of like the scene, but I just can't get past that fact that, like, what department store would lay her out like that? I mean, it's fucking hilarious. And, like, George there as your counsel, the McCarthy earrings, like, yeah, that could turn into it up if you wanted to, but I just don't love kind of going back to the store and the guy coming in and telling Elaine, oh, do I know you? Never liked that part, which leads into her getting, like, basically spanked. While I'm on it, it's really the mannequin down for me. George seeing her naked, don't love that either. So really the whole mannequin stuff, I don't love. It could have just been like the mannequin that looks like you see it once, over with. I think the next couple of times with George seeing her topless and her getting spanked, I don't know. That's where it kind of falls into a down area for me. So that's my first down.
Thank you, Tony. Back to you, Chris. What do you have for your first down?
Agreed. Not a lot of downs, but to kind of piggyback off that, more of not just the mannequin, but just Elaine in general. I feel it was a weak story. And that's okay sometimes in these, season 3, 4, 5. You don't have to have all 4 hitting at all cylinders, but like her trying to figure out like who made the like, I don't know, who cares? Like, but to your point, there were some the McCarthy hearings, whatever. That was pretty funny. But even her just obsessed with it, I think was just a little too much. I mean, it's okay for her to just meet with the guys at Monk's and kind of discuss things. And not everyone has to have a major storyline. So for me, I think they tried to force that in a little bit with her. And then obviously they brought back the guy from the subway. Again, they would try to tie things back together, and people might like that. And I guess I got a decent chuckle seeing that guy. But if I never saw that guy again after the subway, I'd be fine. Let's be honest, right? So that's my first down.
All right, thanks. So Tony, we'll go back to you. What do you got for your second down?
Second down, the pie. Another one that gets drawn out. I mean, we love Sunday Theodore. Olive and Kramer, though. I mean, this is just one of those things like O'Hara they gave Kramer a story and they just hammered it down to just a fucking bitter end. And it came in, did what he could, and Sunday Theodore was great, but it just gets played out by the end. I mean, it ends with the mannequin. It's kind of funny, I guess, but the whole going home to spatula and I lost my age. I mean, it's a little too much. It didn't carry for me, and they tried to carry it very far. Takes up a lot of time, a lot of scenes. For a solid season 5 episode, looking for downs, this is one of them. It kind of weighs the whole episode down a little bit, in my opinion. So that's my down. The drawn out there, Kramer kind of using Olive, and it just kind of fallen flat.
Yeah, I can see your point there. So that's a good down. Chris, over to you. What is your second down?
Yeah, Kramer almost pulling a Jerry there, like breaking up with. You're not breaking up with Sunday Theodore. I mean, friend of the show, beautiful, the whole thing. But yeah, you're touching on a common theme in this episode, which I really do enjoy and like. And it's called the pie. But the apple pie stuff, I didn't hear Jerry mention apple pie in 5 years, and now he's hounding Audrey about it every minute, like. I don't know. It didn't seem Jerry-like. He kind of just goes with the flow. Like, oh, why don't you try? A little too much. The only up that I got out of that apple pie stuff is when he asked the 2 old ladies about it, and he throws down "Let me pay for your tip." I always enjoyed that. But, you know, leave Audrey alone, Suzanne Snyder. You know, I mean, who cares if she didn't taste it? Why was he so hung up on that? I guess, you know, that's the point of the show, I guess, the minutia. But for me, for a guy who's just loosey-goosey and really never cared, and, you know, like the bubble boy's talking about it, his son's who's, you know, in a bubble and he's just, you know, wiping his face. Like, those little things didn't seem to always mean a lot to him. So for me, it was a little bit of a miss. Jerry hounding with the pie. Yeah.
Thanks. So that's going to wrap up the 2 ups and 2 downs. Let's go back to Tony. Your grade. What do you have for the pie?
Oh, wow. Great time, huh? Threw me for a loop. I don't know why I thought it wasn't great time yet. All right. I was just thinking that O'Hara's call on that, I agree with it. I kind of used it for my my whole library science paper that I bring up all the time with the podcast. I use that Jerry asking the old ladies, and that's how he gets his information. He's very inquisitive. Jerry's very curious. That's his nature. O'Hara. That's what he always does. Why it's so vexing? Why scooping the peas and the dresses? He wears a dress all the time. He gets very baffled by things. That's just Jerry. I get it though. The pie thing a little too much. I wrote that down as well. So grades. Listen, I mean, this isn't blowing you away, right? We're not talking AA plus. All right. It's not blowing you away. It's season 5. It's Gamble Pros. It's a great George episode. We both agreed on that. I think Elaine falls flat. I think Kramer falls flat. I think Jerry does his thing, as O'Hara just mentioned, maybe even a little too much. I just think the pie's a B. It's just a B. It's a great episode. I'm not complaining. I'm watching it every time. It's season 5. There's so many great lines, so much funny stuff. I got the damn thing memorized by heart. I mean, all the stuff I brought up in the stores I love. But it's not blowing you away. You know, as O'Hara, and all 4 are not on all 4 cylinders. We're not getting to A range here. You know, I thought B plus at one point, but I'm just going solid B. The pie. That's my grade.
Certainly respectable. I no issues there. So, Chris, over to you. What's your grade?
God, I hate to agree with this guy, but it's almost like there was a Super Bowl hangover after marine biologist. You know, it's that's A plus episode in theory, right? And the pie's a B. It's, you know, season 5. No big complaints, just little complaints. Like you said, you're on the couch. You are never turning that off. I mean, from Beltzman to Sunday Theodore to you know, Dunford and Suzanne Snyder coming back to the introduction of Poppy. Great guest stars who I mean, they all shined. I mean, and that's what we believe in is the core of this show. But to get that at high level, you need a little more than that. So I agree with Tony here. It's a B. He discussed that properly there, and still a great grade. I think in my mind, season 5, B, Gambling Pros.
I certainly respect the grades. I probably enjoyed the episode a little bit more than you guys, but you guys have been fair, and I think B's all around is a good grade for the pie. So thank you guys, and we'll see you on the next episode.